Due to Jesus messing with our show and giving us technical difficulties, we will now be joining MMA Affiliates Radio already in progress.
Non-athletic type wrestling match and turn it into something you have to see on pay-per-view because they sell it so well. And that's one of the things with MMA guys that it's part of the collegiate Olympic-style wrestling. It's part of the jiu-jitsu with its ceremony and martial arts with its ceremony and respect and all that, that so many fighters can't sell their own fight.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's a real shame because I think that some of these guys don't realize that if they would step up the ability to sell their fight, they don't have to do it in a disrespectful way, and they can do it so it sells themselves, which in turn gets them more sponsors. You guys have jumped on the Mukai Moromo bandwagon. Him and Sabah Fadai and a couple of the other guys, they can sell their fight in such a way that it makes them more interesting to the corporate world. I don't understand why more guys can't pick that knowledge up.
You know what I think it is? I think I think a lot of these guys don't understand the business aspect. I've talked to a lot of fighters on an amateur level and young pro level, and they really think their job is to just fight. And I understand that aspect, but at the same time, like I tell them, you could be undefeated and look like John Fitch or whatever his name is all day long and just be boring as shit. Excuse me. But at the end of the day, we want people, the fans want people, the casual fans, we actually do want that WWE type mix in there.
Sure.
We love...
I'll tell you one of the biggest errors that we did probably over the course of the years in the MFC is bring in guys with huge names who aren't worth it.
Hell no.
They're awesome guys. They're really respectful and they're professionals and all that kind of stuff, and they have unbelievable talent, but they have this unwillingness to sell themselves as a fighter, as an athlete. They just want to come to the city that they're fighting in, show up, say nothing at the press conference. I'm really happy to be here. I respect my opponent.
Sure.
Bore everybody out of their mind at the press conference. Come to the weigh-in. Stand on the scale. Don't pose for a cool picture or anything like that. Then show up for fight night. I'd like to thank my corner, they're gone, and they left zero impression on anybody.
That's
a big problem with this sport still is at least half of the fighters don't have an interest in making themselves bigger than the fight.
Absolutely. My favorite MFC fighters happens to be people that's never stepped foot in the, let's say, the octagon. Mukai Moromo, Sabah Fadai is just hilarious. He tries to promote himself on his YouTube, everything. He's a lot more serious this go around. I think the loss to Moromo, I think that took something out of him in terms of sense of humor. I think we got a new Sabah Fadai, a little bit more serious Sabah Fadai, at least for this fight, so he can get another win under his belt. Have you noticed that?
I think Sabah's taken this one. I wouldn't say more professionally, because I would agree that he took the last fight, or I would say he took the fight with Moromo professionally.
Yeah.
But he's got to realize that. He can't afford that third loss. He can't afford the second loss in a row.
Sure.
And, it's a situation where he has to step up now and make a statement. It's all well and good to be in the fight of the year, but it's another thing to win the fight of the year or win the knockout of the night.
Right.
And, he doesn't have an easy task either, because Diego Batista lost his last fight, and he's coming to win, because Batista was probably 2 minutes away from scoring a huge upset over McGilvery at 170 pounds. Now he's coming down to 155, and he's an angry, aggressive, stick his tongue out at you kind of guy, and that's not an easy fight for Fadai at all.
No, I was about to say that same thing. Batista is definitely another one of your up-and-comers that is just, like I said, I looked at the whole roster. You guys got some of the old school guys in there, which, definitely is respectable. But you guys got some young beasts. I mean, when I was looking at this thing, even, let's see here. Let's just take a quick look. Mike Kent. Is Mike Kent still with the company undefeated?
Mike Kent was injured. Unfortunately, he got I believe it's a broken hand, so that took him off this show. But he'll definitely be a factor for us.
Yeah.
Jason Flynn, who signed with the MFC, I mean, he's a wrecking ball.
Diego Lima.
He's going to come in at MFC 34, and he's going to be dangerous. I think you're going to see a few more names that you haven't even heard of yet who are going to be there at MFC 34, and they're, it's only going to get better. We're taking the right steps to keep getting bigger and better. So, the future looks good, and the present looks really interesting too.
Absolutely. The roster's full. Like I said, I actually went to some extra research on the MFC tonight. I put together a whole little document that's got pretty much every result ever, which is insane. I just went on that type of thing today. But anyways, obviously we got Collision Course coming up, MFC 33. Huge show. We got a lot of the guys on tonight, which I want to thank you for. One of the questions I did want to ask you, because I always ask Mark this question and I never asked you, it's gonna go with the championship belts. Obviously, we've had some people that are less than, let's just say, loyal in the past. What are your thoughts on that? Do we need some sort of stipulation in the contract to prevent this? I mean, we're sitting here with all the titles vacant. Obviously, when you look at the MFC and it's at its 34th show, it's a little odd. I mean, 33rd show. It's a little odd to see all the titles vacant. Is that I mean, I know you touched on it a little bit, but how big of an urgency is this in your eyes?
Oh, huge. I mean, Mark and I sat down probably after the last show, after MSD 32, and we had all the kind of everything go haywire with the lightweight belt.
Yeah.
And we just made it real firm that we have to have a good championship title fight on every show moving forward. We will even reconsider the fact that we decided once before to try a fight card with 2 title fights. It has its good points and it has its bad points, but we might have to even reconsider that again. But definitely by the end of 2012, you'll see all the titles filled up. It's got to happen. It's not right that one of the biggest organizations in the world doesn't have all of its titles filled, and we're gonna fix it. We don't. Every single show, as good as they have been or as good as they're going to be, there's always something we want to fix. And one of the things we're going to fix is the title situation. And you're going to see Coy and McGilvery go at it at MFC 33.
Yep.
I think you'll either see a middleweight or a lightweight title belt on the line at 34.
Lukai Moromo.
You might see a heavyweight fight down at 35. So it's gonna get fixed. It's gonna take us till the end of the year, but you just have to find the guys who want to be loyal to the company and stick with us. And it'll happen. And it's happened before, and it'll happen again.
Absolutely.
Stefan, let me ask you, why do you feel loyalty is such an issue? Is it the money? Is it the fame? Is it the lights? It drives me crazy because.
Yeah, in some respects, it's the money. There's obviously the UFC gorilla in the room, and
sure,
they are doing things, and it is what it is. They're the number one show for a reason. When you've got that much money behind you, you can be that way. I think some fighters are getting bad advice, though. I think some guys are taking less money to go other places. I think that guys are often misled a little bit by some of the people in their corner, let's say, as to what the best move for their career is. And obviously people are going to hear me say that and say, well, you're only looking out for your own show. But I've been around enough athletes in my life to know that sometimes they are given some bad advice. And sometimes they think that the grass is greener somewhere else. And there's a reason that is a cliche, is because it is the truth that the grass is not always greener some other place. Guys who go to other shows and sit on the shelf. Because they, and look, you saw a big name guy, a world famous guy like Nate Marquardt sign with some show over in England, and he sits on the shelf for 6 months and they don't use him and have to let him go.
Right, and that's insane.
Some guys get bad advice from time to time, and they need to think that who else is in their life that they can listen to? Do they have a dad, a mom, a best friend, a teacher, a coach, whatever? That's maybe not their manager, maybe not their agent, but who do I go to for advice?
Absolutely, and I think you're right there. And I think that a lot of these guys, without necessarily putting them on blast, they think that grass is greener, and then like we just recently saw, a young man went over to the UFC and had a fight sign that fell out. Now he's just sitting there. We got other guys that went other places, didn't necessarily step up and get the job done. My point of it is that, are these guys getting, you think maybe the manager should be saying, hey, give it a second, make sure you're ready for this? Because
100%. That's the biggest thing, because, Mark and I were talking not that long ago, is that why do guys think they can go from a C-level show past the MFC and right to the UFC?
Right.
If you look back at the number of guys, particularly from Western Canada, who have sat and padded their record by fighting guys who are 2-12 and 6-14 and things like that, and they pad their record to get to 8-0 or 10-0. Go, okay, I'm ready for the UFC. I'm going to wait to, they're going to take me to the reality show. I'm going to be in the house, or I'm going to be on the undercard of some show coming up, and they go and get absolutely tooled because they haven't taken the proper steps. It's like going from I'm playing high school football and I'm going to go play for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm ready.
Absolutely.
Or I've been facing single A pitching for the last year. I'm ready to go head to head against the Philadelphia Phillies. It ain't going to work.
Yeah, I definitely can understand that. Obviously, man, huge show coming up. You guys are once again doing a great job. I was kind of, like I said, I was going over the MFC, and I've noticed, the last few years we've been right at four or five shows a year. Is there any thoughts on maybe pushing that up to maybe at least 6 in a year, maybe 7 in a year?
Our goal for 2012 was a minimum of 6 shows. I think we will get there. I don't think there's any doubt that we've got this week's show. And I believe we've got three more, in mind. Not just in mind, but I think 3 more are going to happen this year. That'll take us to 6 for the year.
Sure.
And I really hope that we can do something this year that sets us on the right path to consistently have 6 or 7 shows, and that gives us something going every 2 months. That's the right level that we need to be at. And I think things are happening in our home base, I guess you could say, of Edmonton.
Yeah.
That's going to make that possible for us to do at least 3 shows here every year, and that gives us the freedom then to do 3 or 4 shows in various different places, whether it's, like I said, whether it's the States, whether it's Manitoba, maybe it's out east again. But I think that we're on the right footpath, but we're going to make sure that it's business sense, because unlike a lot of these other shows that are, doing things in other places and doing more shows, they're not making money at it.
Yeah.
And, we're going to make money or we're not going to do it.
Absolutely. That's the point. I definitely can understand that. Scott, obviously I got to move on to Makai Moromo here in a few minutes. I definitely want to thank you for coming on. Is there any special shout-outs or anything you want to get out before we move on to Makai?
You know what? Just thank you to my Facebook and Twitter and my own friends who are consistently keep me grounded and give me a lot of good laughs and stuff as we always get ready for MFC, and I appreciate you guys with all the Twittering and Facebooking and everything that you guys have been doing setting up this show, and thank you for the big shout out on my new Facebook picture, because it's been getting me a lot of attention, and I'm usually the guy who shies away from the limelight because I like to put Mark and the fighters out there, but it's been fun in the last month or so talking to people about that Facebook profile picture.
Absolutely, it's been great, and you're one of the most down to earth guys, Scott. I consider you much more than just a business. I really consider you a friend on here. I appreciate every time we have a conversation, Scott. I hope you have a good night, man, and thanks for coming on the show once again.
Thank you, guys. I do appreciate it. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy talking to the rest of the guys tonight. It should be a blast.
Scott, thanks a lot, man. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Scott Zerr. Definitely one of my favorite guests. He's just got it all. He just got it done every single time he's on the show. I love
Guy's legit, man. I mean, he does a great job. Everybody talks about the MFC being, second fiddle, whatever. I mean, let me tell you, these guys that run the MFC, the guys that fight in the MFC, these guys are all legit, man. This is a first-rate organization. Great guys all around, man.
I agree. No question about it, man. We'll be right back with more MMA affiliates right after this break. Yeah.
Do you like to listen to real taboo news? Well, listen to news, real news about UFOs, dumb crime, taboo news, and weird science. 7 p.m. Wednesday on X Factor Radio, 6 p.m. on Sunday. Be here, www.bemoreradio.com. X Factor, tune in here. You can also read Real Taboo News at www.realtaboonews.com.
They're back on X Factor Radio. Just how big is the return of this event?
It's huge.
Who are they? Let's just say they're
disrespectful and demeaning and wild,
rude, offensive, and vulgar.
King JB and Jason London. They have to stay off their prescribed mood stabilizer drugs to be most effective as the most controversial duo in the sports talk industry. It's the return of MMA Affiliates Radio.
Great. It's just great.
Returning soon to X Factor Radio.